listeners, and welcome to yet another episode of Discovering Wellness. Thanks for being here. And who else is here with us today? We have Dexter Rodrigues. Now, Dexter is an educator, and an educator at the level of high-end coaches, top managers, and people across the industry, so to say, across a career that spans information technology, ITES services, and stuff that really gets people stressed. You know, those environments that get people stressed. And what he's found as the way to crack the code in places like that. So welcome, Dexter, and let's have some wisdom flowing.
Thank you for having me on this session. Really appreciate it.
Terrific. So let's get cracking straight in, Dexter. What is it that you find working in the wellness and well-being space with all these new gen people, as well as with the old hat managers and the whole spectrum that you've been seeing? In fact, I'd like you to start with what is that spectrum, and then what you've been seeing working within it.
So that's a very interesting question. And so wellness has two sides to it. There is the physical, the external part of it, and then there is the internal part of it as well. So, I mean, we can talk about the physical the entire day, and there are tons and tons of material out there. So what I'd like to focus on today is the internal part of it, which is the inner learning. A lot of the workshops that I conduct start off with discovery sessions, start off with self-exploration. And what we'd like to see more of is for leaders to be able to take accountability and say, what could I have done differently? What the change that I could have enabled. So in order for them to be able to do that, they have to look within first. And that looking within, the deeper exploration is what we try to start with. And, imagine a leader is like a flower in a garden patch of flowers, right? And if this flower has to bloom, this flower has to blossom, and then only will it be able to spread its aroma to the other flowers around it. Then only will the beauty of that flower spread, and the others will get motivated and looking at that flower and being able to step up their own game as well. But the flower was wilted and dry, and all it kept saying to the other flowers was, "You need to blossom. You need to blossom." How is that? It's not going to work, right? So it's extremely important for the leader to be able to self-develop, for the leader to be able to draw from the well within. There is a guru within. There is a wellspring of information that can come from within through deep exploration, through inquiry, through reflection. And all of those, all of that is what we try to explore within the workshops that we conduct for the leadership. So really what's working at the moment is going within and understanding oneself and then spreading outwards. So imagine a flower blossoming, same example, so when you start blossoming from within and then it spreads outwards. So then you spread your love, your passion, your inspiration, your motivation to the world around you. And people lap off that, people drink off that, and their lives change.
It's a beautiful metaphor. Yeah, I love that. But I'm intrigued even further now, Dexter, because you're talking about workplace spirituality almost, and this whole the use of the word love and stuff like that. Is it really happening in corporates?
The conversations right now are typically to do with numbers, turnaround. I work in the ITES industry, so there's so much of headwind happening, and it's become the environment has gone colder. And in terms of the way people communicate with each other. So that warmth, that ownership, that love for your work, that love for the organization that you're working for, and that love for your fellow men who are working for you, that larger ownership of people who work for you. So if you've got a leader who's got 20 odd leaders working under them, if he can, for example, demonstrate that I not only am taking ownership for myself and the organization, but also for you as my team, your families as my team. So the circles of influence, what we want in these trying times is we want these circles of influence to expand and not keep them as constricted. Yeah. So you're taking responsibility for those 20 odd leaders who are working for you. You're taking responsibility for their families, for the success of those leaders, for the success of their families. And when you start thinking in those lines and in that fashion, people reciprocate. Number one. Number two, people also model. So downlines start getting better and their relationships start improving because it's one flower that has blossomed. Then they become those same flowers that blossom within their own mini micro, gardens, and that keeps going on. And there's a spirit of bonhomie, there's a spirit of camaraderie, There's a spirit of ownership and and what's the only word that you can come up with when all of this happens? Like Dr. Brian Weiss wrote that book, right? Only love is real. That's what it is. And the person is not the problem. The problem is the problem. So looking at it from that and such simple basic stuff. But what happens is when we are under pressure, when we are working with tight numbers, when you're working with quick turnarounds, somehow all of this evaporates. You
Yep.
know, yeah. So to bring that inner cognizance and being aware of the fact that you're having a conversation with another human being who looks up to you, who wants to learn from you, and that person depends on you for their livelihood. So remembering all of that and being very mindful of this entire piece during conversations, I think will drive larger, has driven, from the in all of the workshops that I've seen. So people go back, there are people who are teary eyed because
Yep.
the shit has happened within those workshops, or they go back saying to themselves, what was I doing? How did I miss that? How was I so short sighted? And then that becomes a culture. So changing that culture and and building a culture of ownership, building a culture of compassion. We talk so much about compassion, talk so much about empathy, but it's only in the lens of maybe CSR, or maybe in the lens of some holistic activity that we are doing. But aren't we human beings who are at work? Aren't we people who have emotions? Aren't we people who are having families? And in trying times, doesn't it get more difficult for us? So, as leaders, what do we need to do to be able to and foster that relationship and deepen it even further? So now all of this that I've just said is what? Is love for your fellow being, isn't it? It's love for mankind. It's love for the fact that you're coming in to do a job which truly inspires you and you can inspire the people around you. So the underlying emotion is this genuine love for what you do, how you exist, and how the people around you exist. I think I hope that answers your question.
Just hearing you saying that, it brings a sense of love to me, and I'm sure to our viewers as well. It and it's so reassuring. It's so reassuring, Dexter, to know that this is working in your space already. So, Dexter, what do you see as stuff that's not working, stuff that's kind of lived its life or needs to change?
So let me jump from the corporate to the individual now. For the stuff that's not working. Let's go back to the garden example again, right? Imagine there are multiple patches of flowers in that garden. Would you want to be standing in one place and inhaling, the aroma of those flowers only, or looking at those flowers and hearing the bees buzzing around that one garden patch? What if you stood and looked around and said, hey, that's another nice garden patch. Let me
Mhm.
try, take in from there as well. And then you go to another one, and there's so many of them, and they're all saying the same thing, so just by parroting and peddling, and then really very harsh words, but just by doing that,
And that's
uh,
also the harsh reality, Dexter.
harsh
So
reality. Yeah, that's the harsh reality that
people
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 don't
are
want
picking
to.
up. In fact, there was a acronym for that I came across, very interesting.
Mm.
MBLBR,
Mhm.
which is on the lines of MBO by objectives and
Yes, yes, yes.
wandering around and all that stuff. This is management by last book read.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Management by last book read. I'm going to use that. If that's okay with you.
Sure, I got it from somewhere. I
It's
thought, this is so true.
interesting.
Parroting and getting rigid about it.
Yes,
That
yes.
must change.
You
What
know, so,
else?
so similarly, I remember I done a regression session for somebody, and you do all of these regression. When I do past life regression therapy, there are some people who are outright about the fact that no, it's not going to work. You've not experienced it, also you don't even understand it. And there are some people who have done it and they're very successful, and that's all they'll talk about. And then yet there are some people who maybe the regression has not gone so well, or they didn't expect what they saw on television. So, because that's not what a regression session is about. It's about understanding your soul journey and not watching a geographical historical video about, you being a king or a queen in a previous life. So they
Right.
come back and say, no, it didn't really go that well for me. So I think what is of real importance in today's world is being open to understanding that allow God and allow the universe to work what it wants to work with you. Make allowances for that. And as you keep projecting your own model of the world, outwards and talking about what worked and didn't work, leave that for a moment. Leave yourself out of the equation for a moment and allow the universe to work what it has to work with you. And if you are noticing, it's like, you have multiple books on religion, on multiple religions, different holy books. Each of those holy books speak the same language, right? But they speak it from different times, from different messengers. The postman is different, but
True.
the postmaster was or the messenger was
I
the
love
same.
your metaphors. So vivid.
So, if you're receiving the same message from different messengers or postmen, but the message is really the same. What's in the envelope is exactly the same. Say, for example, I'll read a book by what's that gentleman's name? Eckhart Tolle. I'll read a book by him on living in the present. Then I'll binge watch all of his videos on YouTube. Then I'll read all of his books, and that's it. That's what I'm going to be talking about now. But wait a minute. There's so many people.
Right.
There's Krishnamurti, there's so many people, there's so many religions, there's so many prophets, and all of them are saying pretty much the same thing.
So I
Uh,
love that idea. What you're saying essentially is that we are going with the flow, and
yes,
taking that into cognizance and allowing ourselves, lovely word, to be guided and to move forward more dynamically in oneness with a higher intelligence.
absolutely. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you're standing by a lovely stream of water that's flowing, this lovely white, clear stream. And as it's flowing by, there's a gift that comes your way. There's something, and you pick it up and you smell it and you taste it, maybe this lovely fruit that comes your way. But what would you want to just taste off that fruit and say, this is the only tastiest fruit in the world and that's it? There are more that are flowing your way. There are more fruits that are flowing your way. There are more gifts that are coming your way. So taste of that, pick up and taste of the others as well, and enjoy life that way. Allow life to flow through you. Be that open window. You know,
And Dexter, speaking of that, what are you seeing going forward? What would you love to see, and what's on your wish list?
I think what I'd like to see going forward is one of my, I think the things that I've always wanted is uh, in the education system, we need to talk a little bit about spirituality. In the education, I heard about a system called the Waldorf system that somebody recently introduced me to, and they said that in those schools they talk about it. But really, apart from that, I've not really heard of any education system that talks about, mindfulness, cognizance. Heck, even they don't talk about the fact that we are spiritual beings going through a human experience.
Yep.
I mean, imagine the ethos of us, our existence is our spiritual side, is the soul that's within us, it's the software, but we are more focused on the hardware, which is the physical part of it, which is the biology. But
Correct.
there is a beautiful intermingling, and that's why we are here on this planet. So to recognize the fact that we are spiritual beings, to to recognize, and this could expand in a variety of areas, right? How do you speak to your parents? Nobody teaches us that at school. How do you speak to the people in your family? How do you show compassion to mankind? That's not taught in school. I wish that was. I wish
I
that was.
wish that. I wish your wishes come true.
I think our grounding needs to be more stronger, because all of the stuff you grow up and you learn, and these sound like alien concepts to you, to so many people. But if it was, if we had this centering right from a younger age, I think that would have made a huge difference.
Absolutely. And the Wellness Seekers Academy, in fact, takes cognizance of that because we have evaluation and assessments in 8 dimensions of wellness, which include the spiritual dimension. And I was surprised by what you said initially because a lot of corporates wonder what spirituality has to do with bottom lines and
Yes,
numbers. But it's beautiful to know that it's working and will continue to. And if we build it up from the ground up from schools, it's definitely going to become part of the way we exist. So
absolutely.
thank you so much, Dexter. And on that note, viewers, join us for the next episodes of Discovering Wellness every Tuesday. And do watch the past episodes in our library. Follow us on the Wellness Seekers Academy. And see you next time.